Here it rains all the year round. Like grazing herds, the clouds here drift. These green blades of grass look askance as they choke my door. Cherrapunji or Sohra, a subdivisional town in the East Khasi Hills district in Meghalaya, holds 2 Guinness World Records for the maximum amount of rainfall in a single year. This is the place that comes to mind when you recall the lines from Shakti Chattopadhyay's well-known poem in Bengali. Meghalaya, the abode of clouds, rightly nicknamed as the Scotland of the East by the British imperial authorities. So much beauty abounds it that it's hard to describe in words. And there's so much of pain that exists side by side here that is almost inexplicable. The green blades of grass, the chirpy and cheerful children that look up to some sun when the clouds clear away are the focus of our story here. But before that, let's begin at the very beginning. Inspired by the clarion call of Swami Vivekananda to serve the nation, Swami Prabhanandaji, popularly known as Ketki Maharaj, started his pioneering philanthropic activities in 1924 among the Khasi tribal people of Shelapunji, 47 kilometers from Cherrapunji. He materialized Swamiji's vision of "Let New India Arise" from groves and forests, hills and mountains by starting basic educational services among the underprivileged, uneducated tribal and poor people of that locality, upholding the greatness of their own culture, customs, ways of life and language. This pioneering venture had far-reaching effects for the whole of Northeast, as it initiated the involvement of the mission in the area. Unimaginable amount of walking and climbing the hills took its toll on him as he passed away when he was just 38.
Ketki Maharaj learned the Khashi dialect, then he wrote textbooks so that the education can be imparted to the local tribal students. And then he started some medical services, relief services. Now all this he did, he used to walk. The distance from here to Sohra is 47 kilometers. He used to walk from here, take a very jungle route. From there he used to go to Shillong. And that is how he established in his life 11 schools before he passed away.
Today, the mission runs 77 lower primary, upper primary, secondary and higher secondary schools, catering to about 10,000 tribal students located all over Khasi, Jaintia and Garo Hills. It also runs 2 hostels, 1 charitable dispensary, 2 mobile medical units, 1 knitting, tailoring, weaving school, in addition to various other services like free medical camps, eye camps, health awareness camps by specialists, and vocational training programs. All of these made possible by aids and grants from the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India.
The children who come to Ramakrishna Mission, they generally come from very, very poor strata of society. Their families cannot afford fees, their families cannot afford uniforms. So in order to promote education and give them some incentives, we provide them free uniforms. All that is stitched in our own tailoring units. We also provide them what is called a midday meal. But our midday meal scheme is slightly different. We don't cook and provide because that is not very hygienic. So what we do is we provide them rice bags and we provide them dal bags to their families. So all these incentives we provide them to make them come and join our schools. So in our education system, what we try to do, we provide all these inputs to our children almost free of cost. I say almost free of cost because Swamiji had made one thing very clear, that at least charge 2 rupees for something which you are giving free, so that a sense of ownership is there. We also provide them many things which we do in-house. For example, we have a bakery unit, so we make buns, we make breads and all that. We have to bring these children also from very far off places, so buses are needed to bring those children here. Children get everything that they require for getting educated. But other thing which we do everything in-house. Benches, doors, the windows, all this, since we are able to do in-house, it has 2 advantages. One is that the cost goes down, and second is that in this area you just don't get the technical expertise. You cannot wait for 1 week or 2 weeks if your systems break down.
A comparatively smaller school that houses a girls' hostel and day scholars is at Sohra Ramakrishna, a village in the Shela Bholaganj block.
At present, we have 75 students altogether. Most of students, they are coming from remote villages. And all these students, they are so weak in education.
Among all this brightness, one day, a dark cloud loomed large and posed to put a spanner in the works and the future of these bright young children of the region and their right to education and life.
2 years back, we received a kind of a bombshell from the Ministry of Tribal Affairs that they are not going to fund the educational services which the Ramakrishna Mission, Cherrapunji, is doing even before independence. The reason they said is that we can't fund the lower primary school or upper primary schools. We'll fund only if the schools are able to cater education up to secondary or higher secondary level. Now 57 lower primary and upper primary schools where some 6,000 children were studying and 250 teachers employed. That means a massive loss to education services in those areas and to those people. So we sat with the ministry and then we worked out a plan that we can start upgrading all our lower primary slowly each year, add 1 by 1 classes, and within 5 to 7 years all these schools have to be upgraded to secondary and higher secondary level. And that involves huge funding, and the ministry says we don't have any schemes to provide you infrastructure, and for that you have to somehow generate that infrastructure. So we have worked with the darbars, and now we have acquired land in all those places. Darbars were very cooperative, state government was very cooperative. But now we are looking for funds. So within this short span of 5 to 7 years, we have to raise a huge quantum of around 50 to 60 crore rupees. So that is 57 locations are either integrated or upgraded into secondary and higher secondary schools. This site is the perfect example of integrated model. This is Lummausken Secondary School. We started only last year. And we started this because the gorges that you see down here, there are 4 schools we have in the gorges. 1 school is an upper primary school and 3 schools are the lower primary schools. You have to go down 6,000 steps to reach that place. Whenever I go, I get pain on my leg for 3-4 days. So from there, these children, after 5th, they have no avenue where to go for class 6, they have to go for class 7 and the upper classes. So as a part of the integrated model, we had to build this site at this place, because the first point is those villages cannot sustain a secondary school or a higher secondary school. So this is the new site we are building. The site behind that building which you are seeing, that doesn't belong to us. That is building belongs to the darbar. And temporarily now we are running our classes in this temporary structure. This year we hope to complete at least the ground floor. Once we finish this ground floor, the classes will move in here. But the site from here up to that end, this whole plain area, this whole area the villagers have gifted to the mission so that we can develop this into a higher secondary school.
Down from the hills, the river Sheller knows it all. Flowing close to the Bangladesh-India border, where uncertain lives and children hungry for knowledge and a secure future look up to the mission to offer a balm to these rootless migrants.
কারেন্ট নাই, রাস্তাঘাট নাই, খুবই আমরা কষ্টে এখানে। ওই আমরা বাচ্চা কাচ্চাগুলো লেখাপড়া করার একটু সুযোগ সুবিধা আমরা মিলছে আর কি, না হলে তো আমরা কিছুই পাই না।
আমাদের গ্রামে ব্রিজ নেই, একটা হসপিটাল নেই, একটা ভালো রাস্তা নেই। 22 মাসে স্কুলে আসতে আমাদের অনেক প্রবলেম হয়। আমরা চাই যে এই স্কুলে আসার জন্য আপনারা একটা ভালো একটা ব্যবস্থা করে দিতে।
This school Kalatek is across this river, and this river is both a blessing and a curse to the village of Kalatek. It's a blessing because the whole trade happens here, so they get their livelihood. The limestone is carried using boats from here to Bangladesh. So it's a source of livelihood for the villagers. But then when it overflows, there is no bridge to cross this river. And the whole of the Kalatek gets cut off. The children coming from these villages are very poor because they are not landowners. They are working for the tribal people who are the landowners. So these are landless laborers, or they are quarry workers. The population is 2,000 of this village. Children from this village, they have no other place to go for education. So they ask us to admit 50, 60, 70 students, which is not possible. Our infrastructure is very, very small. So this school very urgently required upgradation. And not only upgradation, it requires at least 1 or 2 more sections, because otherwise the children here, they start picking up the habits of their parents and they start working in quarries, they start working in farms. A very young age, even at 10 years of old boy, you will find working in quarry. So that way the education is very much neglected. Awareness of education itself is very less in this village.
Contrary to widespread misperception that the Ramakrishna Mission is possibly the wealthiest NGO and therefore does not need help from people like you and me, such endeavors and the sudden stop of grants from the government makes them vulnerable today and throws the future of thousands of villagers and children into an unknown darkness.
Glenoki jingya phe jing motor sha prang baro ublei undan ring kan in sa jong. Glenoki jingya phe jing motor sha prang baro ublei undan ring kan in sa jong. Long ubril ubahang long ubashlur hakakam ya leban poisha ka buram wat shep tiang. Ki nyam ba pher ki tien ba pher ki jing nyam ba ya pher la don jing ya pher rung in ya long ka wei. Ki nyam ba pher ki tien ba pher ki jing nyam ba ya pher la don jing ya pher rung in ya long ka wei. Ka jai bin riu India jongi kan sa kiu shakli. Ka jai bin riu India jongi kan sa kiu shakli. Gabriel Harper taken salingo, Gabriel Harper taken salingo. Long ubril ubahong, long ubashlur hakakam. Ya leban poisha ka buram wat shep tiang.